Hi all, it's been a while since I've done a video for my drag bike or anything at the moment really. I have been doing quite a bit on the drag bike. I've been sorting a few things out and so on and that. Firstly, I had quite a few damaged panels, so I managed to get a second set of panels for the front, side and lower. I got a nose cone, but I'm still using my old nose cone at the moment because the nose cone I've got, it's got a couple of hairline cracks in it which I've not bad, which I'm going to plasty weld through the inside, and then I'm going to get the nose cone repainted. Now the rear panels, rear side panels, so at the back, I could only get one Gen 2 side panel, so I've got two Gen 1s, which the indicators are bigger, so I'm actually the indicators with it. And the other thing is my seat cowl, which normally has my race number on, will not fit on the Gen 2 because it's on the Gen 1 side with the Gen 1 side panels on. So it was just the seats, but I am looking on getting a seat made which will have a bit of a hump at the back to stop me from sliding back. Probably won't be this year, or if it is, it'll be later on in the year. So, and I've also changed my nitrous lines from nylon to steel braided, partly because some regulations in certain classes and stuff require to have braided nitrous lines. I don't know why, because the nylon ones are so thick they're never going to break or anything. So I've had to refit them, and because of that I've had to fit the purge valve, where you see where people have nitrous spraying on the side of the vehicle. That's so that nitrous will be right the way up to the solenoid, and because the nylon ones, I think it must be that the nitrous pressure drops over time, so it must seep out a little bit. So I'll show you what we've got, and I've got two heaters from where I got it from. They're not full size on the bottles, but they're quite difficult to get older ones for these smaller bottles. I do want to go to a 2.5 pound or a 2 pound bottle eventually, because the swing arm I've got now will take it. But I'll show you these few things now and what I've had to do and so on. And I've also had a problem when we're on the dyno. This will interest you, anyone who fits a controller that runs off the TPS, throttle position sensor. Now, when we were on the dyno, we were like, it was very strange. It was like we were getting up to 100 knot. We'll get to 197 brake, but we were running leaner and leaner and leaner as we were going up the range, so we didn't want to go any further. So taking a while to have a look, because it was like as if it was pressure drop or fuel pump failure or stuff like that. So we were checking everything. I got a pressure gauge on for the fuel. The fuel was 3 bar all the way through to the top. It didn't even murmur, so we know the fuel pressure was good, and everything else. But what we found is the nitrous controller fitted, it takes just a signal from the 0 to 5 volt variable volt off the TPS. And all it is it just touches the wire, it doesn't cut the wire, just goes into the wire and gets a signal from it, so it knows what voltage it's giving. But what we notice is when the controller was turned off, which we normally do when we do normal aspirated runs, the TPS was only given lower voltage, which means on the dyno system where we dyno it was actually giving the fuel for 60% throttle while you were on opening it at 100%. So that means 60% throttle fuel is slightly less than what it would be on 100% throttle, because obviously you're not getting more air in. So that's why it was running leaner and leaner and leaner and leaner, because we needed more fuel for the air that we were coming in at 100%, but it was only giving us 60%. Turn the controller back on, everything was fine. So it must be resistant on the TPS. So what we've done this time is, so we can have the controller off when we want it off, I've put a switch in on the TPS so it can actually cut the signal on the wire going to the controller. But I'll show you all this in a bit, so I'll get back to you in a minute about all this. Hi, you can see here now we have a braided line that comes in to the solenoid, and then you have the output going into the engine. We have S-bends here because nitrous gets flinged to the corner, like you would have say a load of passengers in your car, and you turn a right-hander and it'll go to the left. So you have to have one to counteract the other. You have to have two, one to counteract the other, and then the nitrous should go straight and it'll be evenly spread down into there. Same on the other side. I redone these, took the cover off because I needed this straighter, and I needed that as straight as possible. because otherwise if I had that bent, which was further up, and it was bent slightly that way because of the way this arcs over that way, and because of that it was bending that way, which is not a problem if it stays that way because it'll still go evenly either side, but if you over tighten it too much or too less, it may go one way or the other, so I decided to redo that. And then this side is the purge outlet. So I've got the adapter on there, there's going to be a blanking plug in there, and I'm using stainless. Now some people have it that one solenoid direct to the other on this system, where direct feed straight into the next to each other, and then the purge out. But I have had to, because of space, because as you can see these are the stops for the tank. We've got all the earths there, main earths there, so it's going to be a bit difficult to do. So what I did is put an adapter on there, stainless pipe that goes underneath this stop, underneath the loom, across here and into the inlet of the purge solenoid. Now that's the purge solenoid. Then the outlet comes up the top there and goes out under the frame out the back of the bike, which is here. Probably going to secure that with a plastic tie so it's not going to move around or anything, and that will come out there. I will test it to make sure it's not going to catch anything. I might have to bend it more outwards, I don't know. So on the wiring side of things, we have one, get my hand out of the way, we have one wire from the solenoid goes to earth. I have made a bracket to hold this at the bottom so it's not going to move anyway, because that's solid that now. And then the other wire goes through to a switched live. Right, so that goes all the way through to the top of the bike. Here, I'll just show you the top here. Top of the bike, which I have a switch. So one end comes in, and then the other end goes through the ignition live. I've used the same ignition live as the controller, so once the controller's turned off, that will be turned off as well. Because the last thing you want is someone purging your system when your controller's off, but your ignition's on when you're testing stuff, and just wasting gas when you don't need to. So that goes from one to the other. These two wires which are connected together at the moment are the brake for the TPS I was on about. As connected like that, that means the controller will get a reading. Disconnected, because I've obviously got to put a switch in there, yeah, waiting for the switches to come. Disconnected means the bike is back how it should be standard. And the TPS we're on about is this one, the main throttle position sensor. Now, we tried to adjust it, we thought it was out of range, so we adjusted it and it was totally out of range. So then I got an adapter kit, Kawasaki proper kit, where you connect one end into the TPS and then into the other, and you've got three outputs. And the earth and the live is the two we use, as you can see, for testing the TPS voltage. And the TPS voltage at idle on this bike should be 0.63 volts to 0.65. So I've done it bang on 0.64, probably 0.645 to be exact. So that had to be done on that. The bottle, the rest of the nitrous lines, I'll show you now. And get around without any damage, and Mrs. has put my wheelchair in the way. So what, I'll get back to you in a minute. I'll just move this wheelchair. Here we are. As you can see, zoom it in, the pipe comes out. Well, that's it going in. I'm going the other way around. It comes from the solenoid to like a junction, and this is what we call nitrous transducer. That checks what pressure it is at, and if it's too low, and if you've got your controller set that you want 800 psi on your bottle, this is 600. If it's too low, then that will trigger the controller to turn the bottle heaters on, and the heat will then raise the pressure, the psi pressure. I've got a gauge on the other side, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap these two the other way, because it'll be easy to read the gauge from this side and it would be bending down on that side. So I'm going to lengthen the three wires that are needed. One goes into the controller there, that goes into like output to controller, that goes for the transducer, and then we've got the earth. So I need to extend them now so I can move that to the other side. And because of the way the bottles are, I've had wire pipe loop round to the other, one to the other and one to that way. It seems to be the best way of routing it without any problems, because trying to do it direct, you have a short pipe and it will just make it more difficult. Like that, obviously it's out in the open, but it's pretty solid. I'll put a P-clip on the line there, on that bolt there, so that shouldn't go anywhere. It might move it just a little bit, but it shouldn't move at all really. If anything, we'll see any marks on the chain guard, which is what it's there for, to protect from anything. If we see any marks, we'll do some alterations. From the bottles, you've got two plugs. The orange wire plug, I'll try and show you it. The orange wire plug is going to the controller, which turns the bottle on, and the blacks is going to the earth. They have full weatherproof connectors because they have rubber seals in them and everything. And they are linked together, so that we don't have to have like 4 plugs basically. So we have 2 plugs instead for the 2 bottles, and they're the 2 heaters. Going from that there, and the other thing I've done recently is fitted my thumb brake. I've had to modify it a bit because the design for really low drop bars. You can see the thumb brake is on an extension there. It's got a little bit of pressure on this. Still need to bleed it through a bit more. Now, the thing is with these were designed where on the bracket that one should be here, and then that means I can't get this lever up high enough because it's designed for drop bar, and then it catches the fairing. As it is now, that shouldn't catch anything. So I've made a little bracket to basically move that further up, so then I've still got more adjustment there as well. Next thing I've got to do is where the bottle is. I know why it's so difficult. It's on 2 times room. Oh, spilt fluid now. Where that is there, I'm going to move that, put it there, maybe on a longer bolt, extend it so I can get both things on. Obviously adjust the length of the pipe so then it won't catch any of the panels when you're moving your steering. So that's what the plan is with that. But for now, while I'm bleeding it through, I'll put it in the more easier position of that. And obviously with like that will catch that panel when it's in place. Catch the panel when it's in place. Don't know if any of you have seen it earlier, but I have put a different oil cooler system on, as you can see from there. I did talk about it in the last video, so I won't go into that just now. The nitrous switch on is here, and we have a little telltale light to say it's on or not. I've put a new panel on here. So I did put it down for the original thumb brake, and it's actually got no cracks in this one. The other one was cracked, so I've redone that in there. So that's new. So that's pretty much it for now. I think I've got to top the coolant and oil and bleed that brake through. I'm going to test the nitrous pressure in a minute once I've swapped those thingies round, and we'll go from there. I'll let you know afterwards. Hi again. Well, I've sorted everything out. I'm just trying to see if I can get it on the angle you can see. I had a little bit of leak from the where the end's going to the braided lines, so I've sorted them out. The nitrous is actually on now, and there's no leaks anywhere. The purge system works a treat, absolute treat, and there's no leaks on the stainless pipes, which then go into the engine. Which side am I looking on? I don't know. There. I've also just checked the bottle heater, voltage going to it now. The transducer, which is checks the pressure, showing 640 psi at the moment. Oh, and what it does now is, if I've set it there, I want it at 800 psi. That will put the heaters on then to try and raise the pressure to 800 psi. I'm going to do a little bit of research to know exactly what's the best PSI to have, because unfortunately the people who fill my bottles seem to only be able to get up to 600 odd in these weather conditions. In the summer, it has been about 800 now. So the other thing I was thinking of doing is putting the bottles before you put them on the bike somewhere warm, near a heater or something, build them up to pressure, stick them on, or put a heater facing onto the bottles when we're parked up, which might be an idea. To get a heater to do that, I could probably even take this space heater I've got here, because I can run that on a smaller bottle. But that's all done now. So I'm going to tidy up the wires here. Bit of a mess there, but I've just extended these wires so I could have the transducer that side, which feels nice and cold, and the gauge on this side, so it's easy to read it on this side than the other side. I'll turn that bottle off now. Don't need it on now. I'll turn the system off. Turn the bike off. I'm putting the bike on a charge now overnight because the battery's down to 11.3 volts. So that's probably not going to give enough to the heaters to be able to thingy, but I have been having an ignition on off testing a lot of things. So I'm probably going to pack in for tonight now. I know the nitrous is done. Actually no, I might just put this one side panel on. Time to tidy up these white wires, put this side panel on, and then I can then when I retire for the night. Yeah. Not much else I can say really on the nitrous side. Now everything's pretty much done. I might be lost for words at the moment, but you know, I'm quite happy with the system and how it works and so on and that. I did notice the nitrous does drop quite dramatically on the braided lines compared to the nylon lines. I noticed that it was at 600 knot psi, and within half an hour it'd probably gone right down to 0. So that's why you have a purge system with them, because you do lose nitrous through the lines. I'm not too sure why that actually happens and why they ask you to use braided lines when it leaks over time. Someone could probably answer me that, but it's what the rules and regulations state in certain classes, so that's what I fitted. But I'm going to be using more nitrous because I'm purging it, so that's why I might be looking on moving to a different bottle and run a £2.5, £3. It's not that I've got £3 here at least between the two bottles, £1.5 each probably. Yeah, and you probably say that's more than a £2.5 bottle. But what the problem is how many runs will I get to that? You know, with the particular nitrous I've got in now, might only be 2-3 runs at the most, but then it might empty halfway through a run, where when you've got a bigger bottle, you've got less chance of that happening. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. You know, week on Friday, well, I should say the 15th of March is my first travelling day. Testing on the 16th of March, and 17th of March is the first championship, all at Santa Pod. Run what you've run, anyone can come and ride the bikes as well. Santa Pod's what I do call test day. Santa Pod's running that as a run what you've run, and the Sunday there will be a run what you've run, which is run through Straight Liners, who's running our championship. And anyone can go with any bike, because there should be a class for you somewhere. It's got lots of different classes, and even with some vintage classes and stuff like that now, so it might be worth bringing your old vintage bike around and having a go. That's pretty much it, and I'll speak to you next time.